This podcast is Entell enhanced. To see pictures, articles and links of what's being discussed, download the Entell app.
Hello, welcome to the BiG Scuba Show.
Welcome back to the BiG Scuba Podcast. We are your hosts, Gemma and Ian. Before we get cracking with today's episode, we just want to make sure you have hit that follow button or the subscribe button, depending on what platform you are listening on. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and you enjoy what you're going to hear today, we would really appreciate it if you can leave a review and a 5-star rating. So now that's out of the way, we just want to say welcome and thank you for all tuning in. And now it's time to dive into today's episode.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the BiG Scuba Podcast. My name is Ian and...
My name is Gemma.
Yes, we're back for this week and we're going to talk to you about local diving and some wrecks. We've got two great guests who we know from local diving, and I've been one of their DMs for one of them. So we have got Sean Sizeland and Ellia Driver.
Yeah, and they're local, and when we say local, we mean Norfolk, UK, England, East Coast of England.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about some, because we didn't know that there were so many wrecks that lay off our coast.
No, we knew there were some, but Sean opened our eyes up to that one, definitely.
He certainly did. Yeah. And it's amazing that, when you think, wow, we've got all these wrecks and opportunities to go dive and explore.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't
it? Sean is involved, they're both involved with the local BSAC, Anglian divers BSAC group based the east coast of Norfolk.
Yeah, they launched their boats from Sea Pooling.
Yeah, and also Ellia's an instructor for Crystal Sea Scuba, who I dive master with as well. I've been Ellia's dive master, and she's been an instructor for about 4 years. So we'll be talking to them a bit later on and about what they've been up to and diving off the coast and what there is to explore, because we're in the holiday, we're kind of approaching the holiday season, and we've got diving is happening off our coast now.
Yes, we've seen people diving off the local,
and we've talked about this, haven't we? About our coast, we have this short little window that normally runs from July till maybe October if we're really lucky, maybe September usually, but October usually, some even November. But it's a short window that we get here.
Visibility.
And this will be a prime spot for people who want a holiday in this area that may be thinking, hey, I'm in Norfolk, why don't I see if I can get a dive in? And you can. And so we'll be telling you where you can get involved and where you can maybe get a dive if you're listening to us for the first time and you're thinking about coming to sunny Norfolk or Suffolk for a jolly. Should we talk about what we've been up to?
Yes, what have you been up to?
Well, not a huge amount, because work is just absolutely manic at the moment. And since, last we were paddleboarding on Wednesday night, weren't we? With the we took the Mackie, didn't we? When we got out on the water there, just briefly. But it's this week has just been mad with work, and also CrossFit, because we've got Suffolk Games coming up.
Yeah.
First competition.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, looking forward to that. The weather absolutely looks baking hot.
Yeah, at the moment in the UK we're having glorious weather.
Yeah,
summer
it's
has
really
arrived.
But it looks like next Saturday I'm going to be frying. Almost a bit like our friends at Crystal Sea Scuba at Stony this week.
Yeah, they look a bit
in their dry suits. My
toasty.
Goodness, I feel for them up there. So anyway, I hope they keep them cool, and I hope all goes well with their training this weekend. What have you been up to?
Coast guarding. I've had 3 shouts this week when I've been on call. So there've been a few more outside of when I've been on. So we've had people in the water, somebody in difficulty swimming, and a couple of people cut off. So so we've had everything successfully got sorted.
Yeah.
And we've had other agencies involved, inshore lifeboat, all-weather lifeboats and fire service, police. So
Wow.
we've all been working all together.
Yeah. Do you say something about a paddleboard? No, surfer.
No, there was was on
Windsurfer.
Facebook, and that was one of our shouts. I didn't go on, but yeah, windsurfer got into difficulty, went out and couldn't bring up his sail, so he was out. I think it said an hour and a half, but
Wow.
I think there was offshore winds, so not the wisest move.
No, we've got to be careful, haven't you? If you're going out to sea, you always got to make sure you've got some means of communication. You got
buoyancy aid.
Yeah, buoyancy aid. You're competent on what you're doing.
Somebody knows you've gone out, so they know where you are, and you've checked the weather and the tides. So it's not to be taken lightly. I was on the beach all day yesterday, and I decided not to go in the water because it looked a bit choppy and rough, and I was on my own, so it's not worth getting out there.
And it's the same with diving, isn't it? You got, we've just mentioned about diving off our coast. We get this short window. If you look at different areas like the south, they're virtually diving all year round. With us, with this short window, is predominantly you've got so many other things to look at as well. Where what way's the wind going?
Yeah.
Because that will stir that. Yesterday could have been a cracking day to get in the water, but it was a northwesterly wind.
Yeah.
Which would mean it's just going to stir everything up. Have a look on the seaweed website. It's a
Magic Seaweed.
Magic Seaweed. That's a really good website. Have a look at Crystal Sea Scuba's website because there's all the tide dates.
She gives the tides and the slack
Polly puts
tides
on there, which are really good. But that doesn't mean that's still safe to get in the water because you still got to know, right, what way's the wind going? Because it's usually a southerly.
That's when it seems like it is a good condition. Yeah.
Whether they get in on a low tide, high tide, again, that's all on there. And it's best to go in with a group if you can, if you've not dived off our coast before.
And I think when you go in with a group, Polly has always done it in the past, calls Coast Guard at Humber, says they're going in with a group of divers, and then calls when we're all back. So it's just lots of contingency.
Just being a little bit responsible, and also having some means of letting people know where you are and what you're doing, and some means of communication.
Yeah, and it's like going in the water. Make sure you've got an SMB and
especially off the sea. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and a compass.
Yeah, it does actually, because if you get your bearings right, that just saves a long walk back.
Yes.
On the shingle, which is quite a stamp.
A stomp.
Yeah, it's a good workout actually on the way back. But so that if you were coming into the area of diving, perhaps you let us know. That'd be really good, and that'd be really cool. I've seen some good posts this week actually on the Facebook groups, and some really good viz off our coast, and some really nice photos. Our friend Matt,
we'll give him a shout out because he made the papers.
He made the papers with some of his underwater photography this week.
So that's really good, and that really is good for local diving and the local clubs as well.
Just shows, doesn't it? And that's really good. And also I saw a bit further away a really good post by Christina talking about sharks and the terminology about that. That was early in the week. If you get a chance, have a look at Christina Sonato's post talking about sharks and the terminology about, she was a quick point she was making. Why did press say water is infested by sharks?
Yeah, it's that infested word, and shark attacks.
Sharks live in the water. They've lived there for millions of years, way before us. So
it puts it into perspective, doesn't it?
And the way how the press will talk about a shark being, aggressive towards somebody. No, that's just sharks' behaviour. They're not doing it because they hate us or anything like that. They're just a wild animal. That's what happens.
It was good to see.
So have a look at that post. It's quite interesting what she's put.
And look at all her posts because they always have deep.
Talking about having to look at stuff. So we've got a website which sells t-shirts, things like that, we make maybe £1 or £2 on the t-shirts or where, but it helps pay for some of the
and
bills,
one of the main thing is they are in recycled packaging,
Yep.
non-plastic,
Yep.
and they come from sort of carbon-friendly factories as well. So you're buying a t-shirt that we've thought about the environment.
Yes, it's sustainable. Have a look at that. It's the bigscuba.co.uk.
That's it. That's the shop where you can go and buy them. So we'll put a link in the show notes and keep an eye on our
have a
social
look
media.
at that. We're going to produce some new ones because we're off to the Farne Islands in a few weeks' time, aren't we?
Yeah.
There'll be some new ones going on there shortly. Some new designs.
Yes, yeah. So we need to get our creative juices flowing on that one.
Yeah, and I tell you, when I'm going to be competing next week, and you're doing your rescue course.
Yeah, my
aren't you?
paddy rescue course next weekend.
You are?
Saturday and Sunday.
You looking forward to it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So know where we're going. So that's where we boarded the other Saturday. And I think I'll probably be wearing my shorty or my wetsuit, not my dry suit.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I would, because the water's going to be warm. I don't think you'd need a dry suit. I'm pretty sure.
I'm not a fan of overheating.
So no, I'm not either. I'd rather be slightly cooler and comfortable than. And the trouble is, there's as much to learn on the land as there is off the land, but you'll be wearing your kit. So I probably, that's what I would go for.
Yeah.
Myself.
I will be. I'm just having a semi-dry and my shorty in the car.
Yeah. Again, if you've got your rescue course coming up, let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know how it goes.
Tell us about your experiences, and I'll be able to let you know.
I think it's a brilliant course, and because if you are thinking about that next step, so if maybe you've done your advanced and you're thinking what to do next, and you're at that sort of stage where maybe you've done about sort of like 40, 50 dives, something like that, and you think, I wouldn't mind doing something else, take you up to that next level.
Yeah.
The rescue course is a really good course to do that, because all of a sudden it's that start of that switch where you're not just thinking about your own diving and your own place in the water or off the water, because but it actually teaches you skills about what you can be just at the water's edge, and you could see somebody in trouble, and how do you then help them out, or how do you get them back?
And it's also a good thing just in general day-to-day life. If somebody keeled over in front of you, what would you do?
Yeah, that's right. And that can happen to anyone. So if you haven't done your rescue course, it's certainly something to speak to your dive centre or your instructor and say, hey, am I ready?
Yes,
that's the first question. Am I ready? This is what I would like to do. I've heard about this course, I've read up, and it'd be something for me I'd like to do.
And it will have a crossover with my Coast Guard first aid training as well. Definitely. They'll have different elements that obviously apply for different things.
But as first port of call, speak to your instructor, speak to your dive centre and ask your question. Are you ready for this? Am I ready for this course?
Yeah, so
I'd like to do that.
Listen out to, probably won't be an episode next week, but the week after we'll have an episode and we'll probably recap over how it was.
How it went. And that'd be really cool. Make sure you've got plenty of water, keep them cool.
Keep hydrated, yes.
And on that note...
Have you heard of the Happy Bottle? Well, be prepared to smile and place your order. Happy Bottle is engineered to make it incredibly easy to stay hydrated, whether you enjoy a hot or a cold drink. These snazzy Happy Bottles have a cool safety lock, they are double wall insulated and have a vented drink spout, and come in vibrant colours with an optional handle. You will certainly get noticed with a Happy Bottle in your hand. It has a lockable lid, a slide lock prevents the lid from opening accidentally, perfect for any handbag, rucksack or school bag. You don't need to worry about unscrewing a bottle, it has a flip top lid. You simply press the button and your Happy Bottle pops open. So head over to www.happybottles.com and order your bottle and maybe a happy handle and use the promo code BiG Scuba for a 20% discount.
Excellent. Well, we certainly like our happy bottles, and we use them all the time, don't we? You even prove they float.
Yes, yeah, and they come back up.
Okay, so we'll get Sean and Ellia on. We want to say thank you to Sean and Ellia for coming on and sparing us some of their time to make this episode. And if you are either local or you're just diving at the moment and you've got a story or something you want to share about, then make contact and we'll get you on, and you can tell us about your diving as well, just like Sean and Ellia have.
Yep, or if you've got any suggestions for future guests, then pop them our way.
Yeah, that'd be great. So here we go.
Yep, so, and also thank you for downloading. So we'll see you on the next one. But here are Sean and Ellia.
Welcome everybody. Today's episode we are talking to local divers, Sean Sizeland and Ellia Driver. Now, know them really well through Crystal Sea Scuba and different diving events, and Gemma knows them through courses and same thing as well. And we're going to talk today about our local wrecks which are off our East Anglian coast. Now, it's coming up to holiday time. We thought it'd be a good time to maybe talk to people, spread the news about what wrecks we've got and also what local diving there is as well, which is off our coastline. And, Sean and Ellia are both involved in our local BSAC club, and also are involved with the Anglian Divers Facebook group as well, which has got like 300 plus members. And if you are new to the area or a new diver in the area, these are clubs that you want to be aware of and make contact with, and because they're always diving, they've always got something going on as well. So Ellia, Sean, welcome to the BiG Scuba, and it's good to have you on board.
Hi Ian, yeah, thank you so much for having the time to spend with us and sort of talking about one of our biggest passions, which is diving off the North Norfolk Coast.
And we've got some great diving off our coast, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, some of the Norfolk diving is some of the best in the world. We've got 300 miles square of chalk reef that ranges from East Runton through to Munsley.
Yeah.
And this time of the year, you can expect anything up to 8 to 10 meters of visibility.
Amazing.
The wildlife you'll see in that area is absolutely fantastic. So although Ellia and I are both massively keen or avid supporters of our local dive club, I'm the local chairman and Ellia is the local treasurer. We're also divers. We're active divers. So we get out of bed in the morning and we charge up to the coast with a huge amount of enthusiasm. Ellie's an instructor through a local dive school. I'm an instructor through the club as well. But yeah, the diving off the North Norfolk coast is, by far some of the best in the world. We've got over 500 wrecks within a 15-mile radius from Sea Pauling, which is where we launch.
Yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it? It's just the sheer number.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of ships.
Yeah, people don't realise quite how much we've got off the North Norfolk coast. Within if we go by boat 12 miles in any direction, within that space is about 300 wrecks and countless miles and miles of chalk reef. Now, the chalk reef is really shallow. It only goes down to about 15, 16 meters at the very deepest. So even for the most novice diver, we have got hundreds of miles square of diveable waters right along our coast, and people don't realise it's there.
No.
It's a shame, isn't it? Because you think people that just qualify and they're just going in inland water like Stony Cove, and they don't think about what they've got on the coastline.
No, there's so much more to diving than just going to your local dive site. We've got Peterborough local, we've got the one down in London, I forget the name of that now, St Andrews.
Yeah.
Then obviously Leicester, Stony Cove, which is a great training ground.
Yeah.
But the real dives are to be had with the chalk reef, which is great. But then we've got all the historic wrecks that we've got off our coast. And all of those wrecks are World War One, World War Two. We've got loads of colliers through the 30s and 40s that went down through bashing into sandbars because it was bad weather. You know, we take for granted GPS and sonar nowadays, but we've got to remember these people are out in the boats, and you know, the previous century didn't have any of this. So sandbars were a real big problem in bad weather. And so you've got all these wrecks that you can explore, and a lot of them aren't charted properly. A lot of these wrecks we're still discovering actually the true name of what they are. We've got an idea, or somebody went round in the 80s and 70s and said, oh, that's that one and this is this one. But actually now we do a bit of research, like the Eiffel. The Eiffel is a wreck that we've adopted as a club, and the adoption of this wreck is being led by a guy called Paul Hennessy. And by all accounts, he's a hugely enthusiastic historian, underwater historian. I'm sure there's a name for that. I don't know what it is. And he's leading us with actually identifying exactly what this wreck is, because we still don't know. We've got it down on our charts as being the Eiffel, but we genuinely don't know what this wreck is called, the true identity. So as a club, and with leadership from Paul Hennessy, you know, we'll hope to find out what that is.
Yeah. So Sean, what got you into diving? Let's talk about your history a little bit, and you know, what got you into diving in the first place? You know, did your parents dive?
No. So, well, I like a lot of people, I went on holiday, and the water looked so inviting. I went out to the Greek islands when I was about, I don't know, 17, 18, 19, I forget exactly when. But yeah, if I said 19. And the water was just so inviting, so beautiful. And there was this small company on the side of the beach that were doing these, what we now know as a tri-dive.
Yeah.
And I think from that point on, I was hooked. You know, it's one of those hobbies you get in and you just think, actually, there's so much more to see. And then more recently, in the last 7 or 8 years, maybe 10 years, I was introduced to crystal seas. So although I was scuba diving, I hadn't done any formal qualifications. So I went down and met Chris and Polly down at Crystal Sea Scuba in Norwich, and said, yeah, I actually want to learn how to do this properly. I've got half of the gear I've bought off eBay. Probably not the right way of doing it. And yeah, she took me through. The guys at Crystal Seas took me all the way through to, I think I got up to Dive Master. Yeah, Dive Master.
Oh, wow, cool.
And then I met this really interesting guy that just got my hormones bubbling, a guy called Barry Lister, who started talking about...
Barry.
He started talking to me about wrecks, proper World War One, World War Two wrecks off the North Norfolk coast. And I thought, well, everything I've done so far has been out in somewhere hot and sunny and shiny. And my love is the Norfolk coast. You know, I started sailing up on the North Norfolk coast as a child. I learned to swim at Overy Staithe.
Wow.
And so I'm a proper Norfolk boy. And then when he started telling me about all these historic wrecks, and there's a club, he said, called Anglian Divers, or East Anglian Divers. And I just thought, hang on, this is ticking a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah.
And we went for our first dive off Anglian, the boat they've got, or had at the time, is called Anglian Diver. And they took, and we went out, and I remember going down, and the visibility was horrendous. Ellia was sick as a pig.
Oh, no.
And everything that was against us should have said, don't do this. And I remember coming away thinking, if it's easy, everybody would be doing this.
Yeah.
But this is something actually really very, very special. What we've got here is hugely special. And I've pursued it ever since. And after a number of years, I've got quite a number of dives under my belt on real wrecks, everything that we train to look at when we're going through our training, whether it be BSAC, PADI or SSI or anything, it's all to look at wrecks, isn't it? Or something beautiful under the water. And every part of everything under the water has a history. And when you read up on how some of these boats were sunk and the people that went down with them, You know, we've got one of the earliest wrecks of World War I off our coast. I forget the name of the boat now, I'd have to ask Neil, but it's one of the earliest wrecks that went down, one of the first wrecks that went down in World
Really?
War I off our coast. So the first shots were fired.
Oh, wow.
The gun is on that boat still, that were the first shots fired in World War One.
Wow, that's history.
Yeah,
That's real history. So when you hear these stories, all of a sudden you get that shiver up your back, and you think, "Wow!"
Yeah,
And it's, So from a starting point out in the Greek islands, and I've had a few really good motivational points, and bad dives are some of my best motivational points, because you think, I want to see what's just beyond the dark bit.
Yeah, so obviously we know there's a bit of a window for us recreational divers to dive, like the Rosalie wreck, but do you dive all year round off the coast?
So us diehards that will brave the worst weather will sometimes get out from March, but then we go a little bit further out. We'll be going out to the Lehman Bank, which is about 26 miles out. And we'll be looking for the visibility, which it starts to clear up, you know, depending on what weather. There's no fixed right or wrong. And if it's a warm enough day and we've got enough jackets to keep us warm, we'll go out early part of the season. We'll start looking for wrecks that haven't been dived.
Wow.
So there'll be marks on the sonar from the hydrographics marks or hydrographic service. There'll be marks there of unknown wrecks. And so we'll start looking for those early on in the season and go, let's have a look at these. Because they're that much further out, they haven't been dived by a lot of local divers, which is much in the same way that the Barnwell twins have discovered the Gloucester.
Yeah.
You know, they spent their hours looking for it, and they finally found it. And I think that's what it's about for me.
It's got to be tough, isn't it? If there's that many wrecks out there, and all you're looking at on presuming is like your sonar depth thing on your boat, and you think, well, that's something, could be a wreck, could be something else, and you don't know what you're diving in. It's quite exciting.
It's really exciting.
Yeah. And
you see something, you know, there's a mark there because it's on the charts. You don't know what it is, so you go there, you find it on your own sonar, and we had this a couple of years ago. We'd found this mark just off the coast of Cromer or Sheringham. And Cromer. Yeah, so we found this mark off the coast of Cromer, about 2 miles off. And we thought, what is it? We've got to go and have a look at this thing. So we went out, group of us, and it was a great day. It was a beautiful day. The sun was shining, everything you want in a dive. The visibility was 6, 7, 8 meters maybe. We put the shot down. And I was the first in. I said, I'll go in, I'll tie the shot into whatever it is, and then everyone's got a good path to come down.
Yeah.
Well, as I was coming down the shot, I started to make out what I could see on the floor looked like decking, looked like big decking that was on the floor of the ocean in about 17 meters of water, so not very deep. And as I pulled myself closer, I could start to make out the visibility of what I could see is it looked like a tank turret. And I kept pulling myself in and pulling myself in and pulling myself in. And I'm thinking, what am I looking at? This is man-made. These, what looked like decking initially from when you first saw it, were actually concrete. Ribs of concrete on the ocean floor. And as I got closer and closer, I thought, well, I can see this turret, and it looks like there's a gun coming out of this turret. There's a round thing in the middle of this turret. And so I pulled myself closer, and I realized this was a 4-sided turret. And I'm bubbling with excitement. I'm terrified because I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm thinking, found something exciting. And as I got a bit closer, there's a big tube on each side of this concrete turret. I've realized this is concrete.
Right.
And I'm thinking, right, I've got to work out what this is. And at this point, I heard this buzzing sound, this underwater hum. And at that point, I realized, it dawned on me that this wasn't a really fantastic tank that has submerged. This was a sewage outlet for Cromer.
No way! Oh, God.
there I
No
was, and all of
way.
a sudden that 7 meters of visibility turned into 2, and it was the Anglian water overflow pipes that go 2 mile out off Cromer, but we didn't know what it was, so we had to go and look.
Yeah,
No way.
but that just shows you, doesn't it? It's just like, wow.
You don't know, but yeah, it's so exciting, and every dive is like that. You never quite know what you're going to go down on, and sometimes, for want of a better way of putting it, is a bit of a shitty job.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I can imagine, but that's not good though, is it? That you've got these pipes going out there though.
It's treated water. It looks cloudy.
That is treated water.
Oh yeah, very much so. The environmental agency, I'm quite sure,
okay.
would keep us in good stead.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm telling myself this anyway. So
Yeah. Listen, we better what about Ellia? What got Ellia into diving here?
So I got into diving basically because of Sean.
Yeah.
Once he qualified for his open water diving, we then had a week's holiday in Spain. And we looked around everywhere to try and find somewhere for me to take my open water course. And then we found somewhere, and I did my open water in 4 days.
Oh wow.
So it was a push. I was exhausted in the middle of July when it was baking hot as well. But yeah, I mean, ever since then, I've been hooked on it. I mean, obviously like open water, I had a few blips. Everybody does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, ever since then, I've just been hooked on it. But
And now you're an instructor.
I am, yeah. So I went through everything, and I've been instructing now for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know we've had COVID in the middle, but yeah, it doesn't
Really
feel
4
like
years?
it's 4 years.
It don't seem like 4 years when
No.
you know. Well, that's gone quick.
It's gone really quick. I don't we obviously had 2 years with COVID in the middle, but 4 years I've been teaching. So
Wow.
I love it. I love sort of passing on the knowledge that I've been given from my instructors onto new people, and sort of going through the stages of your open water and having to take that mask off and being absolutely petrified, but passing that on and just going, right, well, this is a little trick that I've learned, and this is what someone else told me, and just passing it on. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, and the reward must be amazing to see people succeed and qualify and just take their diving further and further.
But you're seeing people start their journeys, aren't they?
Yes.
Because you two are proof of where diving can take you. You're both together, and diving is part of your lives.
Oh yeah, very much so. I mean, as soon as we if we wake up in the morning and the weather's right, the wind's right, the tide's right, we're up and out. It doesn't matter.
That's brilliant.
We are literally like, as soon as we know everything's in the right place for us to get out for a day, we go. Like, we've got no qualms about it at all. So
and we've developed very differently, haven't we? So when we started doing our training, we had this dream of both becoming PADI instructors and going out somewhere warm and working together.
Yeah.
And it's just not happened. It's been totally different. And like every journey you take, you kind of have an idea or a preconception of what it's going to be like, but it never quite works out quite like that.
No, well, it's good in some ways, isn't it? You're not following a set path that you've kind of...
Yeah.
No. So Ellie has found that she absolutely loves the teaching side of things. That is, she works a full-time job, but to work of a weekend, going up to Crystal Seas of an evening during the week, Leicester of a weekend, the people she meets, it's a fantastic social outlet for you, isn't it?
Oh yeah, massively.
For me, I go off the coast and I dive with people that have perhaps done their journey, the early part of their journey, and learnt the basics of how to dive. Yeah. And then we progress from that, and perhaps that journey then takes them on to learning how to drive a boat, how to blend their own gas mixtures and all these other things. And that, along with the trips away that as a club we organise. So it's the paths that we initially took are very different to what we expected, but in a really positive way.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So your club, whereabouts is it actually based? Have you got?
So Anglian Divers Club, we have our clubhouse is up in Trimmingham.
Right. Okay.
So we meet on the first Tuesday of every month at Heathlands at 8 o'clock in the evening. So we meet there for a bit of a chat, a few beers, nothing special. And if anybody wants to come along, we're meeting on this Tuesday coming down at the Rush Cutters at 8 o'clock. Again, it's an informal meet. So we meet up as a club on a regular basis, whether they are diving days or non-diving days.
Yeah.
That's nice. What all year round?
I think the only one we don't do, I think, is normally in January.
Yeah.
But I mean, apart from that, the first Tuesday of every month we have what we call as our dry night. And yeah, it's 8 o'clock at Heathlands in Blowfield, and basically it's a chance for people who aren't members of the club to come along and meet members of the club.
Yeah.
Discuss what we do, like where we go diving, how we go diving, whether it's a boat dive or a shore dive. And we sort of just basically introduce ourselves to loads of different people. Sort of try to encourage as many people as we can to sort of come along and experience what we experience. That's the main thing, really.
And it's one of the things, as a club, we don't just do diving. It's not just a case of meet up the beach and go diving. So, for example, on the 18th of this month, there's a group of us that are taking a small inflatable boat down to the Isle of Sheppey.
Right.
Really?
And we're going to go and see, there's a submarine there that's uncovered during low water. So we're going to take, there's a group of us that's going to take this little boat down there. We're going to launch it between us. We're going to paddle out, and we're going to clamber all over this World War II submarine. Even though it's not a dive, because it's above water at low water, it's still that exploration of
where is that? Did you say?
Isle of Sheppey.
Yeah, the Isle of Sheppey.
So just off the Medway.
Yeah.
So it's so we're going to go down there and we're going to explore it, because as kids you just love exploring stuff, and we're just kids that never quite grew old.
No, don't. It's just. So do you get quite new divers? So from a obviously new diver perspective, is it a club where you can be quite like just done your open water or done your advanced, and you're going to feel quite comfy with some of the dives that you're doing?
So I mean, normally, like, anybody is welcome from any kind of qualification. So from open water is absolutely fine. I mean, the main thing for us really, sort of ideally, just to have potentially up to sort of, if we're talking paddy side, rescue diver, more for the boat dives, just because it gives them more confidence, if that makes sense. But I mean, because we do shore dives as well, like you can be open water and come and do a shore dive, it's absolutely fine. You can be open water and do a boat dive. It just depends how confident you are. Like that's the main thing, really.
So we take in everybody, that whether they be a diver or a non-diver, and we'll take you through every part of any training that you need to do to be safe at sea.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, if I'm skippering a boat, I will look at who's got the least experience on the boat, or the least comfortable. Or so if someone comes on the boat and says, I've never dived below 10 meters, we'll go, okay, we'll find somewhere for you that's 10 meters. So they've done their 5 open water courses at Crystal Seas, and they want to go and explore the North Seas. We'll walk them through that, and we'll make sure they're safe. Yeah. So whether that be a shore dive or a boat dive, and we'll progress with them. Yeah. To expand their
That's really good to hear.
Comfort zone. We'll expand.
Zones.
Yeah, that's it's really about being confident, isn't it, and getting your confidence building.
Because it's not necessarily relevant to what course they've done, because we've all seen people that have done every course in the world, but you throw them off the side of a rib, 14 miles out in the North Sea, and they're terrified. And it's. But then you'll get somebody that's done their open water course, that's happy doing that course and happy diving down to 18 meters, that's really competent. They can throw the kit together. So it's not necessarily what course you've done, but we definitely gauge where the boat goes or what dives we're doing based on the competency of the person and how happy they are to do that.
Yeah. So tell us more a bit about some of these wrecks that somebody who's not a tech diver, and let's say, you know, what sort of deck wrecks can we see that are reasonably comfortable to visit, sort of let's say up to sort of, you know, advanced diver, anything up to like 30 meters.
Okay, so I'll talk about one of my personal favorite wrecks. It's a wreck called the Oxshot. It was part of the Arboru group that went out 1940 something or other. There was a flotilla that went down due to bad weather.
Oh, really?
Now that wreck lies in 17 meters of water.
Right.
So that wreck is suitable for anybody, as long as you're comfortable being out on a boat.
Yeah.
It's only about 7 miles out, so it's not very far to go in a boat, and it's beautiful. The wreck itself is laid out in absolute classic wreck formation. You've got these two beautiful, huge boilers that are 3 meters in height, 2.5, 3 meters in height.
Wow.
That are all covered in a whole manner of life, anemones, sea slugs, and you know, and and surrounded by fish. So then, just astern of that, you've got the engine that stands up there 4.5 meters high. It's I'm going to probably be corrected in this, but it's a triple. I believe it's a triple expansion engine that's all in its naked form, so you can see every part of that. Following back from that, you've got the stern tube that leads to the back of the boat, where the stern is broken off, and the stern lays over to one side on its on its port side.
Wow.
So the whole stern of it lays over. And if you swim to the top of that, again, which that's up about 3.5, 4 meters, you've got the beautiful the steering quadrant that's on the back, a massive prop that's there. So it's absolutely classic, how you would expect to see a nearly 100-year-old, 80 or 100-year-old wreck in its formation.
Amazing.
So how big a boat would that have been then in its day then?
That would have been about 1,000, 1,500 ton wreck.
Wow.
So it's a wreck that, if you look onto Norfolk wreck site,
yeah, you
can read all about it. It's a wreck that a guy called Paul Hennessy that's covered really, really well. It's a beautiful wreck, and it's a whole group of wrecks. You know, just off the bow of that, you've got another wreck. So you can do not just the one boat in the one dive. You've got another boat called the Gallius that lays again just off the bow of that. And again, it's a beautiful wreck. It's still got all the coppers from where they had the copper rings around the outside to deflect from the explosives. And it's all between 15 and 17 meters to the seabed. So it's something that a novice diver with the right preparation can do.
And roughly what sort of viz would you kind of expect? I know nothing's guaranteed, but what sort of viz have you experienced on that?
So 2 weeks ago, we went out with a group of people that have dived. For some of those people, it was their first North Sea dive as well.
Yeah.
Experienced divers, but they're not first North Sea dive.
And that's on a rib?
That's off a rib, yeah.
Yeah. So
they had between 5 and 7 meters of visibility.
No way. That's awesome.
Yeah, North Norfolk Coast is not all bad weather. If you look on the Anglian Divers website, we post a lot of pictures, and we had some really fantastic photos taken by a local guy, Matt Ribbett, who did some beautiful photos, and that was just off the Rosalie. So if it's good viz on the Rosalie, it's going to be better the further out you see.
Yeah, we've had some good viz on that. You know, Gemma, that was one of your first.
It was my first
dives,
sea dive. Yeah. Shortly after I did my open water. Yeah.
It's a beauty. I still love doing it. Like, even to this day, I love doing it. But I mean, the one thing that I always notice more diving off our coast is actually how much the sand shifts.
Yeah.
So you can go and dive like the Rosalie, which we all know really, really well, one day, and then you can go a week later and it's completely different.
Yeah.
Because the sands have moved. And that's the nice thing about sort of going that little bit further out on the boat, like on the rib. You know, you can dive a wreck, and the next week it's just completely different, and you'll find something on it that you've not necessarily seen before.
Yeah.
That's the bit that I love about it as well. There's always something different.
So sorry, go on.
That is brilliant, because we pay a fair bit, don't we, to go to the Red Sea, and we do a liverboard, and we would dive on these famous wrecks like Janus D, and Thistlegorm, and all these amazing wrecks which are out there. Great, but for people who are maybe just starting out or new, and this is their first summer of diving, how cool is it to know that you can do these wrecks of, within a reasonable easy reach? You're not going to go silly deep. There's a chance that you're going to, we've got to say in brackets, obviously conditions change, but if there's a chance that you can get 3 to 4 meters visibility and have a great time, how cool is that? That's brilliant. I didn't know about these wrecks, and I'm now finding out about these wrecks for the first time. That's brilliant.
It's amazing.
We've got such a massive range of wrecks off our coast. We've got a wreck called the MV Ems, which was a cargo ship carrying trailers, lorries, a whole manner of things. I mean, this is a 5,500 ton wreck that lays 10 miles off the coast, and it lays on its side. It's still got most of its cargo. It was never commercially salvaged because of the way it went down on the side. It's got some of the best swim throughs you can ever hope to. So, but it's quite a deep wreck. You're talking to the top. You're talking about 20 meters to the top of the wreck.
Yeah.
But then down to closer to 40 meters to the bottom of the wreck.
Wow.
So she's a big boat. But then you've got on the other scale of that, you've got something like the English Trader. Now she lays in 9 meters of water.
Wow.
So you can take a single tank out there, and you can spend an hour and 30 minutes on this.
Yeah.
I mean, I did that 3 weeks ago, and you could see you were down on the wreck, and you could see the boat above you. So we had 9 meters of visibility.
No way. That's awesome.
And this is a wreck that was going round. It was going out to Mombasa in Africa.
Yeah.
From, I forget where it was going from now. Somewhere up north, Newcastle or somewhere, I believe. And it's a general cargo vessel. So it's got everything on it, from bottles to copper to everything. Absolutely everything. And it's a great training ground, because again, it's one of these wrecks that's so diveable by absolutely anybody.
Yeah.
And it's not far off. And it's a beautiful wreck. And again, it's laid out absolutely classic. And going back to what Ellie was saying about the sanding, I dived that 3 years ago, and you could see the whole stern segment of that out of the sands.
Wow.
Dived it with my friend this year, and a lot of the stern section was covered by sand, so the sands shift. So, but then the front section was quite uncovered. So there's bits there that, even though I've probably done 15, 20 dives on that over the years, there's bits there that I've never seen before. Bottles that I've found, lamps, copper lamps that are on it that were, only just being uncovered. Same as the Galatea. They call it the Doll's House wreck, because it's still giving up the china that was on it when it went down in 1800 and something or other, which was a Galatea was a wooden wreck that was carrying clay and china from China, obviously.
Is there any more recent wrecks or that you've come across?
Well, the Ems is fairly recent. It went down in 1980.
Oh, okay.
So it's only, like I say, it was carrying. So if you go through that, you'll probably find the odd Ford Cortina on it. It was a car ferry that went down off the coast.
Oh wow,
that's amazing. It makes you want to get out there.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about, isn't it? That's what
it is.
Getting out there, talking to the people that dive it, the people that do it, and seeing it.
Yeah. And to have, wrecks that are only 9 meters deep, it's not that scary then for someone that's just kind of qualified.
No, not at all. Go with the right group of people.
Yes. Yeah.
At the right depths, at what are comfortable and safe for the people on board. Like I said, when we go out on the boats, we always dive to whatever the deepest or maximum of the deepest to whatever the least confident or comfortable person is.
Yeah.
So we always accommodate people because there's wrecks for everybody. You don't need to go deep, dark, murky to have a dive.
No. How does it make you feel though when you? I'm trying to wonder what that must feel like. So you drop a shot line over a potential wreck, and you go down. Nobody, as far as you're aware, nobody's been down there before. I can imagine your heart is racing. How does it feel? Because you're thinking, is it almost like stepping on snow that's never been walked on? Is it like, breaking that mold? But how does it feel when you're going on a wreck that nobody's seen for years?
Well, I think that's quite a personal thing, isn't it? Everybody feels something different. For me, absolute total hairs up my back.
I bet.
Yeah, there's people that go in the water that don't like being in water where they can't see the bottom. But then when you get close to that bottom, that anticipation that you have with that dark, that you see that dark shadow gets darker and darker and darker. And all of a sudden you make out, oh, hang on, that's a bit of H-bar. And then you get a bit closer. And that fear of, I don't know what's down there. Are there going to be sharks? Because it all goes through our heads, even in still water. Oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to see. And then we get closer to it, and all of a sudden you start seeing things, and then you see the anemones that are growing on the side of the wreck, and you see the fish, and you can see the sandy bottom, and all those fares go, and all of a sudden you just think, wow. And if you take the time to look and stop and turn your torch off, if you've got a torch, and just park your bum in the sand and sit there and look up, and all of a sudden you'll look up and you'll see thousands of fish above you, and you just think, well, this is the sort of thing you see David Attenborough talking about in the Mediterranean or wherever, and you think, I'm 40 minutes from home and this is here, and you sit there, and sometimes I do a dive and think, I'm not going to do a lot on this dive, I'm just going to sit there and take it in and wait until that current starts to run again, and you think that's time for me to go up. And it's so something we also do with the club, we do drift dives. So it's not just about going and finding a wreck, dropping down and playing on that wreck. Sometimes if we're out on the boat, at this point, we've made the effort to fill our tanks up, haven't we? We've, gone through all the hardship of loading the boat. We've gone off and done a dive. Yeah. And you're coming back in and you think, I've still got half a bottle of gas left. I'm not cold. I don't really want to go home just yet. So what we sometimes do is do what we call a drift dive.
Okay.
So we'll drop into the water again with the tide running and go over the chalk reefs.
Wow.
And drift over the chalk reefs. And when the water is running at 3, 4, 5 knots over chalk reef, it's not very fast, but when you're down there, it's like going along in a race car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's amazing.
You have your SMB up above you. Or if you've got a shot line, you're dangling off, or however you're doing it, whatever the process is on a day, and you're drifting over this bottom, and you're seeing the life on the bottom of the chalk reef. Or we've got a place called the Monks just off Cart Gap that we go, which is a bass breeding ground. Oh, really? So the bottom is all full of, it's a mile off from, the fishermen will hate me telling you this, it's a mile off from Cart Gap. And you drop down in front of it and you drift over it, and it's massively changing in diponics, and it's beautiful. And you're just sitting there hanging off your shot line, letting the water do. So you're not swimming, you're just drifting.
Yeah.
And the boat, is above you because you can hear the engine, and they can see you because you've got your SMB up. So it's really safe, and you're in 10 meters of water, just using the last of your gas. And it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and this is all in UK waters.
Yeah,
all in the UK waters.
Yeah,
I love it. I think it's brilliant, and it's great knowing that we've got this off our coast, and we look around different parts of the world, and people often overlook, don't we, what we've got on our doorstep. It's very easy to do that. And new divers often just get too focused, I think, on the training sites as well, because they are, that's what they know. But it's brilliant to share about what lays off our coast. Now, what, another question for you is, what gets you out of your comfort zone?
Having to get tea when I get home.
But in diving, what gets you out of your comfort zone? What sort of like, whoa,
I mean, for me, the biggest thing for me actually is having Sean there.
Yeah.
So because Sean knows sort of what I'm happy diving and what I'm not happy diving. So he'll always, like the next dive we do, he'll always add something in.
Yeah.
That just kind of, and it's only ever one thing as well. Like he doesn't like throw me in deep and for really long and 20 miles off the coast kind of thing. It's always just like one bit he add on to my dive.
Yeah.
Just to bring me out of my comfort zone. And it's worked. It has definitely worked. Sort of over
that's
the years, it's definitely pushed my parameter with diving. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that's good, because I think I think you should be challenged to a degree in your diving and in life, because otherwise you just get, if you're not careful. And again, I've said to Gemma, about maybe broaden, find another buddy to dive with as well occasionally, because I think you can, if you're not careful, you can get channeled.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to have something which does challenge you. And you think, hang on a minute, I've got to remember my training here, So I think that's really good.
No, I mean, there's obviously always in the back of your head, there is that I need to remember my training. I can't do this and I can't do that. And I can't do, but actually, if you've got somebody that's maybe sort of got a few qualifications above you that can do it and share their knowledge, it kind of makes you all of a sudden realize, actually, all right, I'll give it a go and I'll push my limit a little bit and sort of see. So
it's having confidence in that other person as well, because there's no point. You've got to be confident to do it, otherwise you're not going to do it.
That's right.
No, that's it. So
it's expanding the knowledge, isn't it? So understand what you're doing, understand the depths that you're going to, understand the environments that you're in, and be safe in what you're doing, and be with somebody that's competent to take you up to that next level.
Absolutely. Yeah. And safety is everything at the end of the day, isn't it? So
We're in an alien environment down there. We're not designed to be underwater, so we're reliant on the gear. And it's just it's just as you get more confident, become safer, because confidence sometimes isn't a good thing. Too much confidence is never a good thing, especially in what we do. We really emphasize with the club that redundancy. So a lot of the people that we dive with perhaps aren't twin set divers, but they're very capable of taking a slave cylinder with them. So a small 3 litre stage. So they can, they've got their own redundancy. So if it does happen that you're in poor visibility, they've still got their reliance. Whereas, a lot of our training tells us never leave our buddy. And that's the right thing to dive by, never leave your buddy.
Yeah.
But to have your own redundancy as well.
Yeah.
So we really emphasize that with the club. Safe.
Yeah.
But let's not be frightened of pushing our own boundaries here.
No, it's true. What gets you out of your comfort zone then, Sean?
Oh, Ellie, every day of the week.
Yeah, but in diving, come on.
Diving. I'm afraid of the dark. I'm generally terrified of the dark.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about going deep. That's never worried me. But on the dives that I've gone down, and when you hit 16 meters and there's a plankton layer and it goes black, and then you turn your torches on, so then you can only see what's in the torchlight, and you carry on going down. I still get the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely
fair
no doubt. I get the heebie-jeebies. But I push myself through and think, okay, well, if I can see a couple of 3 meters, I carry on, I push myself down. And that a few years ago would have really put me out of my comfort zone. Now I'm quite happy with that. So,
yeah.
But it's still going into that dark and, you know,
The unknown.
going into the unknown. And I still see shadows that aren't there. I still go, ooh, what was that? And I think while you've got that, you're diving safely. The second you lose that,
Yeah. That's when things go wrong, isn't it?
yeah, that's when you start having to think, hang on, this is a dangerous sport. We need to be sensible with this.
Yeah.
So that is my, I have my limits. I don't like pushing. I've been down to 40 pluses and stuff. I forget exactly what my max ever. So people have gone an awful lot deeper.
Yeah.
But for me, off the Norfolk coast, most of our wrecks are within 30 meters. And I've been down on the wrecks when they've been absolutely pitch black. And it's when you get down there and there's no visibility that you just think, no, this isn't my comfort zone now. This is no point. I'm going to go back up again.
Yeah.
And the most important thing about diving is actually I'm not comfortable. I'm going to go back up. Because I can always dive another day.
Yeah, there's always another day.
Yeah.
Christina's 5 Ennies, the Ennies rule of not diving for any reason. So, that's really good.
Yeah. So one of our other questions is, if you could dive with 3 people, who would you take under the water? So they could be anybody, they don't need to be divers, and why would you take them? So if we ask you each individually, so Ellia, what would you?
Oh my gosh. I'll kind of cheat with the first one because technically I've already been in water with him, but my dad, definitely.
Yeah.
We have tried with him before and time's just not allowed us to carry on, but definitely take my dad. That's a tough one. 2 people I'd want to dive with. I'd have to say Johnny Depp, just because it's Johnny Depp.
That's a good one. I've not had that one.
Sorry to say, it's
What
gonna
if he's a diver?
I will. If Johnny Depp brings me tomorrow to go diving, I'm there. Quite happily.
Dressed as Captain Jack, though, of course.
Even then, I'm not fast by that bit, right? As long as it's Johnny Depp, happy with that.
Right, so that sets precedent for the domestic this evening. Thank you for that.
You'll have to come back to me on the third one.
Yeah. What about you, Sean? Then
who would you take?
See, 3 people I'd like to dive with.
Yes.
Right, 2 I can instantly say. 2 people I have dived with and I love diving and I will love to continue. One is a guy called Nick Schiller.
Oh, Nick.
Yeah.
He's a guy that every time I get in the water, when I started diving with him a few years ago, he hadn't done loads of dives, but he came across of just having absolutely loads of competent sense. And I feel really safe with him in the water. He's great fun. He's got a great sense of humour.
Yeah.
And he doesn't mess around too much when he's kitting up, which is for me quite important with someone I'm diving that I want to get in. I'm out there to dive. I want to get in. So Nick Schiller, absolutely 100%. The other person is a guy that I've been out with quite a few times that I haven't actually dived that many dives with. It's a guy called Neil Cope. And Neil Cope, if you're in the diving world, you will have heard of him. He's a guy that I love going out on the boat with. I do a bit of skippering for him when he goes out on his boat. And he's so relaxed in the water.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. He does a lot of quite deep dives. He's a rebreather diver.
Okay.
But he's a guy that can drop down, look at a single piece of steel and be able to instantly map that wreck.
Wow.
He's probably one of the single-handedly most competent people that I've ever dived with. And when you're diving with someone that competent, you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So, but he's our equipment officer for the dive club. So not only is he a really, really great guy in the water, he's a really, really great guy out of the water and what he does for the club.
Yeah.
And that's something that goes, what he does is, he's amazing. He's got so much energy out of the water. even when you come home and find him half passed out on your doorstep because he can't find his way home on his push bike.
Oh no!
From the local pub, and you find him on your doorstep. But yeah, so that's number 2. Number 3, it would have to be Lily Allen.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Yours would be.
She's the only person that I would really, really like to see at a neoprene suit.
Oh, okay.
Well, there you go, Lily Allen and Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah, right, we're there.
Brilliant. Okay. Let's talk about nuggets. We like to give our listener a bit of a nugget. Okay. So if you could, Ellia, if you could give some, and it don't have to be about diving really, but if you can be about diving, that's great.
Yeah.
If you could give one of our listeners a little nugget, a little something to take away from this, what would you give them? Something to, a little golden message.
I mean, the main thing for me, even if you're not confident with water or keen on water, still get in and try scuba diving, because it's completely different to swimming, to paddling, to anything like that. It gives you a whole new perspective on what is actually within our own world.
Yeah,
that would be mine. So yeah.
Brilliant.
No, brilliant. No, that's
good. Yeah. Sean?
Oh, that's a really difficult question, Ian.
Well, we like to test our guests.
I don't know, a nugget that I would give somebody. Okay, so one of the things we hear a lot is, I can't scuba dive, I can't swim. And my nugget would be, you don't need to be able to swim, you just need to be able to sink.
Yes.
True.
Yeah, it's not about your equipment, isn't it? It's not about what you know.
That would be my nugget. So the people that are put off scuba diving but not being able to swim, you don't need to be able to swim, you need to be able to sink.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I think that's where I'm at with that.
No, that's good. No, that's good.
I like that.
And then,
I mean, I could give you some great euphemisms like the deeper we go, the better it feels, or something. It's but...
No, that's good. That's good. I like that.
And then our final sort of question is, if you had a billboard, so something that the whole world could see, and you could put a message on it for the whole world to see, so it could be a statement, a picture, a video, what would you put on it and why?
Oh, that's super easy, right? It's welcome to Norfolk. It's not really a secret, but we're not going to tell you where it is.
I like that.
Very apt.
Brilliant.
Yeah, how about you, Ellia?
I don't know on that. That's a tough one. I mean, it's probably been spoken about to death over however many years, but mine would be that, we need to, I think, get people in the water to actually see what's there to protect it.
Yeah.
That would be my one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's the whole thing about appreciating what's under the water, because it's 70% of our world. And
no, that's it. So yeah.
No, very good.
I think if a lot of the world leaders would somehow be able to see underwater, I think a lot more would actually happen, rather than it just kind of get sort of forgotten about, or it's just left for the environmentalists to go on about. So I think if a lot of the world leaders actually was to see underwater, I think a lot more would happen, definitely. So no, they're very good, both of you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So if people want to find out more about your club, where is the best place for them to look? Have you got a website or social media presence?
Yes, so the website is www.angliandivers.co.uk.
Okay.
And we have an Anglian Divers Facebook page. We're also on Twitter, LinkedIn. We're on quite a lot of social media stuff. So, I mean, the main ones really is sort of Facebook and the website. And the nice thing with the Facebook page, because so many of our members follow it, everyone kind of answers questions that people have.
Yes.
Which is perfect, really. So everyone that's got experiences that it's slightly different can give their opinion.
Yeah. And how many members do you currently have?
I think we're just shy of the 50 members mark.
Yeah,
that's good, isn't it? It's just
we're just shy of that, but we're to the point where we're looking to put in, because we've got a spare boat up at our club house, so we're just considering getting that up to the beach, because we're starting looking, think the spaces on boats we might need a little bit more, but we've got the spare boat sit there.
So how much does it cost to, one, join your club, if for people are thinking about it, and then two, if somebody wants to come and do a dive with you guys, how much does that then cost?
So we start off with an actual dive. So if you're going to go out as a member on the club boat, the way it works, we all throw a tenner in each to the club. We then split the launch fee and the fuel cost. So an average day out, going at anything up sort of 8-9 miles out, which is where you're getting some really nice wrecks, it's going to stand you about £25-30.
Yeah, so it's pretty good.
So, and for that, you're going to get a good hour ride out in a rib. Our ribs have, we've got one of our ribs has got nearly a brand new engine on the back. It's only a couple of year old rib. So you're going to be blasting out for an hour, going out 40 minutes, half an hour, whatever it is. You then go and do your dive. We then like to have a sandwich while we're out once we've done the dive, and then we come back. So if you want to drive the boat, you're more than welcome to drive the boat. That's something that's exciting. So for the sake of a £35-40 day out, you're getting to do an awful lot.
Yeah.
You are. So do people need 2 tanks?
No. So I mean, whenever I go, I'm still on single, but I am obviously nitrox. So I'm sort of dependent on depth, depends on obviously
a 9 meter dive. You don't need twin tanks. Just a single tank is more than enough in a shallow dive.
Yeah. I mean, as far as sort of to join our club, so it's price wise £105 for the year to be a member of the club with us. But within that, you then you get insurance cover.
Right, so the club fees, how we lay the club fees. So you have to be a member of BSAC. Right. So the BSAC fees, I think, are £55 a year.
No, the BSAC fees are £60 for a year.
Oh, £60 a year. So the BSAC fees are £60 a year. And with that, you get the BSAC insurance, which covers you for all the bits and bobs that you need. So if you're going abroad, there's lots of additionals. Then we have our own personal club membership, which is £105 a year.
Okay.
For that, you get, if you're just a normal air diver, we've got our own compressor. You can have unlimited air fills. Okay. You've got use of the boat, even though each time we use the boat, we put an addition to that to cover maintenance costs. You've got unlimited use of the air compressor. So you think your average gas refill is a £5 a time?
At least.
Yeah, at least. So by the time you've done 20 dives in a year, that's your membership paid.
Yeah. So we paid £8 for air.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So that we then offer what we class as our premium package, which is a nitrox package. So people that are nitrox approved that want to go and blend their own mixes, which we can offer the training for blending your own mix. So you haven't got to go to a company and say, can you give me a 32% mix? So we offer that for £160 for our premium package. So, but then you think, how often would you go if you're going to the extent of diving on mixed gases? You're probably an enthusiastic diver, so you're probably doing more than 10 or 15 dives in the year. So to mix a blend of a 32% mix, to go and get that done at somewhere commercial, you're probably looking at £10 a bottle.
Right.
Okay. So most of us at that point are on twin tanks. So you're talking £20 a time.
Yeah.
So you haven't got to do that many dives for it to be that cost effective.
No.
For example, I went up to the coast and filled my tanks up. I've got 3 sets of twin sets. I filled those, and I probably do those every 3 weeks.
Oh wow!
So through the course of a season, the actual cost of the club membership is very minimal, because you get that. But then you've got all the other added benefits with being part of the club, the people that you're meeting. So it's not just the club boats that we've got. So we've got friends that have got boats within the clubs, and quite often they want somebody just to come out and do surface cover, or they've got a space on their boat, and that's all linked in within the club.
Yeah.
So even though that's not a club dive, being part of that club puts you in contact with these people. And that's the biggest thing. It's being in contact with people that are there, that are going out and actually diving. And then you've got the training. So for an example, we offer boat handling courses, we offer nitrox training, and the courses are all publicly available on the BSAC website. So the courses are fractional. So
well, it's all quite manageable, isn't it? But,
yeah.
And you're definitely a very active club. You always, we're in the Anglian divers group as well, and you always see people posting that they're doing stuff, and diving here and diving there. So that's really good that you are. And I want to go diving now.
And
that sounds brilliant.
That's what it's about, getting in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And because it sounds accessible for, inexperienced divers, that's even better as well.
Yeah. When are you two next diving then?
It was going to be tomorrow, but the weather's blowing us out slightly, sadly.
Yeah.
So tomorrow.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, but if not, mine will be next weekend.
Yeah. Excellent. When are you next teaching again, Ellia?
I believe I'm in the pool with Gemma on Wednesday.
Yes.
So Wednesday I'm in the pool, and then we've got the rescue course on the weekend.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's
Looking forward
good.
to that. Yeah.
It's a great course, isn't it? I like the rescue course. Good course.
It's awesome. I love
it. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, I want to say thank you very much, to both of you. It's been brilliant. And, it's been really good for having you both on and sharing about all the great wrecks and diving off our coast.
Yeah, really, really good. Yeah, really inspiring as well. So,
and open to new and experienced divers as well. Can't ask more than that. It's brilliant.
No, thank you for having us.
No, thank you.
It's been great chatting with you guys.
Now that does wrap up today's episode of the BiG Scuba Podcast. But if you want to hear more from the podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button depending on what platform you are listening on. That way you will never miss an episode from us. But if you are listening on Apple Podcasts and did enjoy what you heard today, we would really appreciate it if you head to the show page to leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does help us. If you do, please take a screenshot of that review and send it to us on Instagram, and we'll give you a shout out to say a big thank you. If you have any questions for us or anything that has been mentioned in today's episode, be sure to reach out to us on any of our social media platforms or send us an email. The links are in the show notes. We will get back to you no matter what. If you have made it to this point in the episode, we both want to say a big thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.